Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our regular Board of Education meeting for August. I'm Vice President Elizabeth Mitchell, standing in for President Lisa Kostecki this evening. Will you please stand for, we just returned to a regular session from executive. Please stand for a moment of silence. Mr. DeLucia, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2 months in a row.
I wasn't here last month. Thank you, and I'm welcoming anyone who's tuning in from home and people in the gallery. Welcome to our meeting. I would like to notify persons wishing to address the board must sign up prior to the start of the public participation. Speakers must register on the form provided by the district at the entrance of the boardroom to maintain a first-come, first-served process. For purposes of following up with speakers, the speakers must provide their name, address, telephone number, and/or email address. To limit comments to matters which may be properly discussed during public participation, the speakers will provide the topics. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Reading of the emergency evacuation procedures. In case of an emergency, would everybody please follow the exit signs to the outside of the building? Please stay completely clear of the building to provide space for any emergency vehicles. Item 2, approval of this evening's agenda. I am looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Tim.
Mr. DeLucia, may I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Adams, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Item 3, superintendent's update. Dr. Terranova.
Thanks, Mrs. Mitchell. And I have 3 quick updates. First, we had our leadership staff retreat in July. It was a 3-day retreat with our entire leadership staff, 2 days here and 1 day at actually it was a park area in Victor where we got a lot of work done around building and department goals. But the core anchor and focus of the retreat was the concept that greatness is defined by what we called raising the floor for instructional practice across every classroom in the district. And that certainly doesn't mean we don't have high expectations already. We have a couple great advantages. We have high expectations around our teaching practice, and we have great educators doing the work and a great leadership team. Our goal this year is to make as consistent as possible the fact that exceptional teaching practice can occur every day, every minute, in every classroom. And the way we really focused on that 3 days was the alignment of our goals and action steps as buildings, departments, individual leaders with our management plan and our expectations of the 5-year strategic plan in the district. We talked a lot about instructional consistency and the way we would collaborate with staff to support professional development that's necessary. And we talked a lot about psychological safety and shared accountability, which is, I guess I'd call it solution-based leadership, where every staff member needs to be comfortable to be able to tell, whether they're an administrator or another teacher, things that might be a little uncomfortable or constructive or even difficult to hear, but is what's best for kids. And so to have that psychological safety where people feel like they can have those honest conversations with each other is critical. And how does our leadership staff support that type of conversation that really raises the floor for everybody? We got into a lot of details, obviously, in the 3 days, but I was extremely excited with the work that was done and applaud our leadership staff for their work on those 3 days. Second update, I want to thank our principals, leadership staff, and Dave Passrow, our assistant superintendent for personnel. Currently, we have hired 99.6% of our instructional staff for this year. We have hired 93% of our teacher aides, and some of that has to do with the complexity of some of our Committee on Special Education decisions in the summer. That always happens. So you might get a student who needs more support, and that's decided in July. So now you got to find a teacher aide or assistant that can support that particular student. But we're at 93% hiring rate for that, and we're at an 89% hiring rate of our transportation staff. which is higher than the last 3 years, and I want to really applaud Kelly Klink, Dave Passero, Christine Griffin, and all the trainers out there who are training bus drivers nonstop. And we're ahead of the game right now with our transportation staff, and probably farther ahead than we have since I've been here. So applaud their work. So we're in great shape with our hiring. And then my last update, I just want to read a letter from a parent that I received this week. And it's I'll read a synopsis of it. We recently relocated last year to Victor Central School because my son was being bullied in a previous district, which led to significant anxiety, depression, and PTSD. It has truly been one of the best decisions we have ever made. He is happier, more confident young man today because of the support and care he has received from the Victor community. I want you to know how grateful we are to the Victor Junior High School staff for being so understanding, patient, and supportive as we transition to a new school and a new environment. He certainly experienced a few bumps along the way, but thanks to the incredible team at Victor Junior High, he is in a much better place both academically and personally. I'd like to recognize his counselor, Mrs. Ryan, Principal Mr. Gee, Assistant Principal Mrs. Westerman, Teacher Ms. Mills, and Mr. Isaacs, because Mrs. Ryan was instrumental in helping him adjust. She made sure he felt welcomed and connected, including helping him find peers to sit with at lunch. She and Mr. Gee also encouraged him to become involved with the morning announcements, while Mr. Isaacs helped connect him with opportunities to explore and develop his passion for technology through future school events and activities. The compassion, encouragement, and genuine interest these educators showed our son made an enormous difference in his life. Their efforts helped him regain confidence in himself and reminded him that school can be a place where he feels safe, supported, and valued. Please extend our sincere gratitude to everyone at Victor Junior High School who played a role in helping him find success and happiness during his first year at Victor. We are incredibly proud of our son and deeply appreciative of the difference Victor Junior High has made in his life. So I thought the board would want to hear that, and just a shout out to our own Mr. Isaacs and all the team at the Victor Junior High School. That's our first focus. Every child feels welcome, valued, and supported in this district, and that's what we're trying to do. So that's my superintendent's update.
Thank you very much, Dr. Terranova. Item 4, presentations and recognitions. There are none at this time. Item 5, public participation. Although the board's work is open to the public, this is not a meeting with the public. At this time, privilege of the floor is offered to those who have signed up to speak. Are there any? Mrs. Halleck, thank you. So we'll move on to item 6, acceptance of consent items. These are items A through H, and we're looking for a motion to approve upon recommendation of the superintendent the following consent items A through H, which are in our agenda, and we've all had a chance to review the documents attached. So I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Dr. Parks, a second.
Adam.
Mr. Snyder, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Item F, the district, item 7, A, campus news. Dr. T, since it's summer, I think we're back over to you.
Yes, and I'm going to actually start off by introducing Jasmine in her second meeting as student board rep. She has some campus news that she would like to talk about in relation to her role as a student rep. So Jasmine, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. On Tuesday, I attended student board training with Dr. T and Mrs. Mitchell. It was a great opportunity to learn more about being a student board member and connecting with students from other districts. We were able to talk in small groups about our experiences and opinions. I enjoyed hearing how other students are involved in their schools and learning about things they are working toward. Everyone had something different to share, and it was interesting to see how we could relate to each other even though we come from different districts. The conversations gave me a new perspective that I can take back to our own district. Overall, I thought the training was a really positive experience. It was a great way to bring students together, learn from each other, and talk about how we can make a difference in our schools. I'm glad I had the opportunity to attend the training. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. And I know Mrs. Mitchell and I were there, and you were fantastic in the small group, spoke eloquently multiple times about your role as a board member, so greatly appreciate it. So I will give the campus news for the other buildings. At the VEC, excited to welcome 9 new faculty members and 3 paraprofessionals to the ECS finishing our touches on the building, including waxing our hallways. That is happening this and next week. The new clocks and PA systems, thanks to the capital project, are nearly all installed, which is an exciting addition. And we're looking forward to having our students, families, faculty, and staff back in the building in the coming days ahead. At the primary school, we're preparing for the new school year. Last week, the Victor Primary Building Leadership Team came together to collaborate on important topics, including refining our community events to increase their impact and efficiency, maximizing our meeting structures, and the role of our leadership team in supporting our building goals. This summer, the primary building has been filled with students for extended school year and summer academy. There are also students in the building for summer enrichment and some sports camps. It's exciting to see so many students learning and being active over the summer. It's a great reminder that our campus is an important part of our Victor Farmington community. Just a note that we needed to cancel our first playground summer night due to a heavy rain last week, but our next summer playground night is at Mertenzia Park on August 25th, which is next week. And at the intermediate building, we're very excited to welcome our intermediate staff and students back next month and begin another great school year together. We look forward to continuing our work with staff to create welcoming, engaging, and student-centered learning environments where all students are challenged and supported. One example of this work is our continued focus on building thinking classrooms. We will continue working with teachers to use these strategies to create rigorous, collaborative learning experiences that encourage students to think deeply, work together, and take ownership of their learning. One of our building goals at the intermediate school is to ensure that every student feels welcome, valued, and has a true sense of belonging in our community. During the first few weeks of school, a major priority for our staff will be building strong classroom communities and developing positive, trusting relationships with students. Throughout the year, we will continue to strengthen that welcoming environment by creating meaningful opportunities for student voice and explicitly teaching important character traits during our assemblies. Additionally, we want to create opportunities to celebrate the diverse cultures in our school community and ensure that all students feel valued. At the junior high school, this one's brief. 7th grade orientation, it's a busy week next week. 7th grade orientation is on the 26th. New 8th grade orientation is on the 27th. Our new educator program for new hires is next week. And at the junior high, we are welcoming 16 new team members this year, and we could not be more excited to welcome them. And then at the high school, we were excited to welcome the freshman class of 2030 on Tuesday, August 18th with our orientation program. Special thanks to health teacher Miss Katie McEntee and our work-based learning coordinator Joanna Arnitz for organizing this important event, as well as the student leaders who will support our freshman class with a day of fun team-building activities and then doing check-ins throughout the year. Second, Thursday, August 27th is our annual Senior Connection Day, which is a fantastic way for our class of 2027 to get together and kick off their senior year on a positive note. The students will be doing some friendly competitions, team building activities, and painting their parking spots. Thank you to our class advisors, Mrs. Kelly Ahern and Mr. Joe Carey, for working to make the start of the senior year memorable for our class of 2027. And third, our annual college camp happened the past 2 weeks, and as always, it has been an enormous success for our seniors who are getting a head start on the college exploration and application process. Thank you to English teachers Mrs. Leanna Berkmeyer and Mrs. Emily Feldman, and our college coordinator Aaron Jacobs for working with the students. The seniors learned about the common application, how to use the features in school links to maximize the resume writing and application process, and then they started writing their college essays. And Mr. Siesta would like to give a special thanks to our counseling secretary, Kristen Smith, for registering the many students and keeping track of the materials they need, and the school counselors for also providing the necessary support for the students as they enter the college search process. And a brief update from athletics. Mr. Weimer wanted me to please mention the progress on Field 7 for soccer and lacrosse. This is his expectation. We're expecting turf to begin installation very soon, and many of the finishing touches as well. We're also starting fall sports. Football actually started this week, and I believe the rest start next week. And we are approaching 650 total registrations for the upcoming season. So I'm thankful the principals will be back in September and they can do the campus news, but some good stuff going on.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Item 7B, capital project update with Christine Griffin and SWBR campus construction.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome Chris Mergler from Campus Construction Management and Allison Shannon from SWBR Architects, who are managing our capital project ongoing right now. I'm sure you've all seen a lot of activity on campus, and summer is one of the busiest time for construction when you have a project like this. So lots of things to update. I'm going to, without further ado, hand this over to Chris Merkler. Or Allison. I'll say Allison starting first. Thanks.
Good evening. Thanks for having us tonight. I'm Allison Shannon with SWBR. A lot of these themes and budgets are going to look very familiar to you, so I'll just run through the status of the project to date. We, as you know and see on campus, there's a lot going on. It's very busy. So a reminder, the safety and security was about, which includes PA and clocks in all the buildings. We did renovations and innovations. That was about $8 million of the project. Facility repairs, you'll see roofing reconstruction work, which was about $2 million. So the total for phase one was $12.2 million, and the change orders are holding just shy of $500,000. You'll see the parking lot at the intermediate school, behind the intermediate school, is going in and nearly complete. That was about $1.2 million of phase one, with about $19,000 of change orders to date. Oh, sorry, thank you.
That's okay.
It's my job. So for phase two, we're really excited about phase two. It's the largest chunk of the three-phase project. There will be building additions at the senior high school, about a 17 classroom addition there, building renovations, and campus-wide site work and bleacher work. And the air conditioning to cafeterias and gymnasiums has been shifted into the phase two project. So this is estimated about $44 million of the project. Phase three, so this is the phase we're currently designing right now. We're looking at the intermediate intermediate cafe and classroom addition. That'll be 5 classrooms added to the back of the intermediate school, and then an enlarged cafeteria space. We're also looking at creating a new third serving line at the intermediate building, so students are able to flow through their lunch periods faster. This will also involve sidewalks, roadways, and bleachers. In the ECS, there will be some improvement to the front entrance and rampway, main office renovations, and toilet room renovations, as well as the primary school. There'll be toilet room renovations and various upgrades to finishes. And then the bulk of the work will really be focused on the intermediate building. So that's about $21 million. So where are we today? Phase two is pending SED approval. We've gone through the first 2 phases of the SED approval. We're waiting on the third phase, which should be, we're expecting any day now. So that should be bid opening in October of this year, and groundbreaking will start in November. Phase three, the schematic design was completed in May, design development at the end of July, and we're hoping to get this submitted early. We had anticipated submitting to SED in February. We're now looking at December for that submission to SED. So phase three, the intermediate school, you can see here the classroom addition at the back, and then various toilet and faculty upgrades, toilet room upgrades, and then renovation of the existing faculty room, relocating that and creating a third serving line for the students, and a 1,200 square foot cafeteria addition. So here are, did I skip one? No. So here are some renderings of what it will look like. We're looking to open up the existing cafeteria to the new addition. So we'll have those sight lines for staff to view into both the existing and the new together, so it will look like one continuous cafeteria. And the finishes still have to go through approvals, but these are just some examples of what it could look like. And then here is the classroom addition with the circulation hallway, a side of windows for potential expansion in the future if needed for additional classrooms on that single loaded corridor right here. So these are the 5 classrooms. Some of them will have toilet rooms, and then we'll be renovating this area right here to student toilet rooms and staff toilet rooms. All right.
All right. So I'm Chris Mergler with Campus Construction. I'm the project manager for Victor, and I'll apologize in advance for all the disruption on campus this summer. I think we're coming kind of to the end of that. The progress has continued pretty well so far. We're about 80% of the way through the operations center building, so the transformation of that from a bus garage to a CTE facility will finish in October. The exterior of the building is largely complete now, and we are looking to get the equipment and millwork and finishes into the inside space through September, finishing in October. The Learning Center, there we go. Learning Center is kind of marching along in parallel. That one got a little more priority because we do have the kids that are currently living in the operations center temporarily. We want to get them back into the Learning Center. We want to get the Spot Mart open and out of the dock because I think they've struggled with the confined space. But the exterior of that building is ready for its finish panels. The interior is through paint and sealing. Flooring will go in, and the final finish there will happen in mid-September. So we expect to have that building back to full use by the end of September. Is this just like a double tap, or what's the? Yeah. Okay, I did skip one. Notification system, as Dr. Terranova mentioned, it is largely in this building with the exception of this room. I noticed it doesn't have its new device yet, but all of the clocks, the speakers, the message boards, the strobes, they are installed in the primary, intermediate, junior, senior high school. So that will be one cohesive campus-wide notification system. It will control the clocks, the bell schedules, announcements, and then in the event that there is a lockdown or a secure hold in place, this system will broadcast to the entire campus. It interlocks the PA, the card readers, the fire doors, so that they are able to control that from one central system. We expect that full system to come online at the end of the summer. So September 3rd, we'll be able to take down the existing clocks and PAs, and we'll be able to launch the new system. And that is, I'll say kudos to the team, Teledata, Relcom. We're a year ahead of schedule. This was supposed to be done in December of 2027, and they're gonna finish up this summer. So they've done a really, really excellent job. Turf field, so they have been working very diligently between raindrops to try to keep this on schedule and hand it back over to the teams to be able to play the majority of their fall schedule on this field. They will be rolling out the carpet next week, and there are some finishes that follow that, fencing, paving, and just touching up the perimeter. So that will be ready to play on as of the first day of school on September 8th. 1.5 is the parking lot, which caused most of the disruption to campus this summer. They did finally get through all of the weather-related delays. Sidewalks are done, parking lot's done, the road is back open. The last item is to get the light poles up, which is happening this week, and then that lot will be fully ready to turn over. That's going to be allocated to the intermediate school as we kind of play musical chairs with the parking situation in preparation for phase 2. We're going to consume the overflow lot and the junior senior high school parking lot on the west side of the building. So it was imperative that we get that done this summer so that everybody had a place to park and they weren't walking from the village. Which isn't that bad. I make my kids walk from the village. Oh, I know. Yeah, being dead-ended on both sides of that wasn't very helpful. So, Kate, did everybody get a copy of this? Okay. All right, thank you. So the last slide here is a little bit of an overview of the changes to the campus flow as we enter the 26-27 school year. So I can reach most of this, so I'm just going to do it from here. The overflow parking lot we're going to take over, and we tried to maintain the flow of traffic around campus. So we're putting in a bypass around this overflow lot so that as students come in, as parents come in to hit the high school drop off at the north entrance, they'll be able.
Would you be able to just speak from the mic, just for folks at home? I'm so sorry. Or you could take it with you if you want.
All right, I thought it'd be easier
That's
to
okay.
point from there. I'm not sure if our laser pointer works. Can you see it? Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
there
see
it
I
goes.
didn't think it
Okay.
was.
If you carry it, you could be the old Bob Barker, you know, when you can, Price is Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So, as I was mentioning, so we're trying to maintain the junior high drop-off and then the senior high drop-off. So as parents come in off of High Street, they'll follow the same flow, but instead of hitting the three-way stop here, they'll go around that parking lot and hit a three-way stop here. This parking area is going to be consumed by the addition, so once construction gets underway in the fall, that will be eventually the new building. Those parking spaces will not come back, which was one of the reasons that getting this parking lot built by the intermediate school was quite important. The other significant change is going to be the junior high and senior high main entrances are going to be relocated. So because of the addition being there and the construction prior to, we're going to relocate the junior high entrance to the cobblestone. So there will be a secure vestibule in that entrance. That's where anybody dropping off, visiting, pick up early will happen in that entrance. And then similarly at the north entrance to the high school where the drop-off is today, the visitor pickup, drop-off, early dismissal kind of activities will happen at that entrance. Try to show parking. So this will be available for intermediate school. This will be high school. This lot will be high school. Visitors here, junior high. And then the remainder of the parking around the perimeter of the campus, even though it's a little far flung, that will still be available for regular use.
Just a quick question. So if I'm understanding the flow correctly, where you have those two offline sites in front of the junior high and senior high,
Here.
and particularly the auxiliary parking. So am I understanding this correct, that flow will actually go around the exterior perimeter of that current parking
Yeah,
lot
that's
as it
right.
is?
So
Okay.
what we did to minimize the additional cost of the temporary work, we consumed the last row of parking spaces as 3/4 of the driving lane, and then we just expanded that lot about 6 feet. But as a practical matter, yeah, they'll flow around the perimeter of that lot. And then once construction is complete, this will be restored and given back. So that overflow parking will be returned sometime in the 27-28 school year.
And then I'm sure we're aware of this, but just to make the statement and be mindful from a district's perspective, you know, that's fairly important parking space with regard to the performing arts. And so I just, some kind of discussion or plan around how to redirect folks from a parking standpoint whenever we have performances.
Yeah.
Going to be key.
Yeah, that's.
And direct them away from trying to park in spaces they shouldn't be parking.
Yeah, and so we do have quite a bit of signage that is
Okay.
required in our front-end documents so that there's wayfinding signage and parking signage to direct people where they should and where they shouldn't be. All right.
Are there any other questions or? Thank you very much for the updates. Very much appreciated, and it's exciting to see all the phases come to fruition. All right, item 7C, Management Plan Overview with Mrs. Fincher. And we have those packets underneath the campus map for your reference.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Karen Finter. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction for Victor Central Schools, and it is my pleasure to be here tonight to provide you with an overview of our 5th management plan. It's hard to believe that we've accomplished so much, 4/5 of our strategic plan when we set out in the 21-22 school year to do that work. So tonight's presentation will share some insights into what remains in the plan. So as you're aware, our strategic plan is organized into 3 broad pillars: culture, learning and instruction, and student supports and opportunities. Each year, the tasks that have been identified within that initial strategic plan process are brought forward and unpacked into action steps with clarity regarding the people responsible, timelines, and projected evidence of accomplishment. Just to highlight, as the Year 4 management plan wrapped up in June, I just wanted to give you a sense of some of the accomplishment of this year. As you might remember as well, we provide insights into the management plan to the Board of Education through our management plan presentations that happen in an ongoing way throughout the year. We typically partner with building leaders, with teachers, sometimes even with student voices to give you insights into the work that's happening as a result of the management plan. But in Year 4, some highlights to include, as you have seen and heard, we wrapped up one of the big pieces of the strategic plan was to conduct an equity audit. We worked with U of R to do that. And last year, we really were able to unpack the information from that equity audit, use that information as a point in department and building goals. And that work continues as part of our annual data cycle and reflections. So that information was used as a baseline. We certainly did a lot of work with systems and operations as I follow the facilities updates, but that advanced facilities planning, certainly the capital project work, but also some of the work around maintaining fiscal responsibility through our budget development and systematic alignment in those realms. In learning and instruction, we introduced and operationalized the model of instruction, that foundational understanding of what learning and instruction looks like within every classroom here in Victor Central Schools. Our curriculum and assessment work continued, where we refined assessment practices, particularly around 712, using tools like eDoctrina and making sure staff were comfortable with those tools so that they could efficiently analyze their assessment information and use that to plan instruction. In terms of professional development, we did a host of professional development opportunities for staff, including training on the science of reading and elements of that new model of instruction. Under student supports and opportunities, there was a focus on secondary transitions by having the voices of students, our recent graduates, come back and inform our work. We hope to make that an annual event, but their sharing their perspectives really helps us take a look at what we do as our graduates cross that critical transition from high school to post-secondary. In addition, we use district resources to track student academic and social emotional progress through Panorama and through Karen Ryan and the People Personnel Services really worked around that intervention progress monitoring through our MTSS plan. So those are just some of the achievements of Year 4. And anything that we don't quite finish or don't quite operationalize gets rolled into the next year's management plan. So certainly from the learning and instruction viewpoint, some of the assessment work is still continuing. And so while it may not be a marquee item in our management plan, know that it is part of our ongoing work. It's how we operationalize it. So our development plan timeline kind of fits that same model. At the end of the school year, or towards the end of the school year, we review the management plan. How have we done in terms of the evidence that we have in our accomplishments? Are there any carryover tasks that we've identified? Are there things that we need to do and look at maybe a little more deeply, or it's taking a little bit longer than we anticipated? We make sure that all of the stakeholders in terms of our building leaders, department leaders, teacher leader voices, our shared decision-making teams have opportunities to provide feedback about it. We draft action steps based on those tasks that remain, and then those action steps really help to inform the goal-setting process for our buildings, our departments, and all the way up through offices like the Office of Instruction and even the superintendent. The best part about our management plan is really that last bullet, that it helps to provide that alignment, that continuous span across K-12, pre-K-12, so that way we really are anchoring and settling into the same areas of focus. So for year 5, our culture goals really fall into 3 major categories. Staff retention and support. Dr. Passero and I have been working very closely with Mike Modleski and other teacher leaders on a new system for evaluation. The New York State has changed the laws around the annual performance review requirements and have given districts lots of time to develop that process. So that work is continuing, and it falls under our strategic plan goals around staff retention and support. We know high quality supervision, that feedback and continuous growth cycles really do help teachers grow in their practice, and we're confident the plan that's starting to come together really will provide that great foundation for our teachers. So we're hoping at some point this year, hopefully after the end of the first semester, we'll have some more information about that plan for you. In terms of consistency and continuity, another target area that is carrying over from year 4 is schedule alignment at our secondary level. We know that both buildings have their unique needs and unique responsibilities to serve the students either at the 7th and 8th grade level or the 9-12 level, but having a building that's actually connected that could share resources in terms of space, staffing, and opportunity for students to not have the same type of time signature or the same letter day rotation really is a barrier to be efficient and effective for our community. And so both buildings have teams that are looking at how they could maximize their alignment of schedule, and that work is starting to come together and really develop strong momentum so that by November we should have a framework for a aligned schedule at the secondary level. In addition, that culture goal is not just about some of the social emotional aspects, it's also about some of our operational pieces. So continuing the work that started last year around our community partnerships, hearing some recommendations and determining pathways forward. That is also part of the management plan this year, as well as that continuation of the development of a 5-year facilities plan. And then in terms of culturally responsive practice, the strategic plan called out for really empowering student voice, and what are some of the ways that we do that, to look at how we're celebrating our differences and doing that in a way that honors but doesn't alienate. And so thinking about how are we looking at things like heritage months and cultural celebrations and giving teachers and staff a framework in order to do that. And then looking at how within the implementation of curriculum, we are being mindful of different marginalized populations and not just looking at some different groups as victims only, but really celebrating their cultures. And so those are areas of focus within the culture pillar this year. Within learning and instruction, there's some of that crossover with the culturally responsive instruction. So looking at that continued focus on backwards planning for a student-centered, culturally responsive learning environment. That's a baseline for all students. It will help all students succeed. Thinking about how we're supporting the growth of social emotional skills embedded with academic tasks. As more and more comes out about the portrait of a graduate and the New York Inspires plan, really it's the academic competencies, but also students' ability to be problem solvers, to be collaborators, to be critical thinkers. Those are just as important and also propel those academic competencies. So we want to make sure that we're including those within our instruction. In terms of assessment and grading, as called out in the strategic plan, we want to make sure that we have solid assessment systems district-wide, really looking at our common assessment practices and district benchmark assessments that parallel the rigor of the standards, that don't just sit within a program, but really are beyond the program, anchored back to those important standards. And then looking at professional development systems, as the contract with the VTA was established for the end of this school year, looking at learning walks as a way to really help support educators learning from other educators. And so developing that as part of our robust professional learning system sits within our management plan in year 5. And then the last pillar, student supports and opportunities. This pillar really comprises a lot of our MTSS work, and the tasks that are left in this pillar really are more along the lines of refinement. So making sure that within our acceleration practices, that we're really looking at what are those levels of support that students might need to be able to access challenging coursework. What do other districts do? How could we learn from that? That's also sitting in the management plan this year. Making sure that our families and students are well aware of some of the opportunities associated with work-based learning. That work has been started, but as we transition to a new work-based learning coordinator, we don't want to lose any momentum in that regard. In terms of MTSS, just continuing to refine our plan, making sure that it aligns across all 5 buildings, that it isn't a barrier to transition, that we can really be clear around what are those supports students might be receiving and how can we continue that work even if a student changes from one building to the next. And then looking at our related services practice, making sure that our building level supports as well as our IEP mandated supports have clear criteria established for when students enter into those services, but also when they're able to be exited. So what's next in terms of our management plan? We certainly use these as a component of our opening of school. It will be incorporated through the building goals as buildings work with their faculties and talk about it, but also in some of our district-wide messages. We will continue to enlist our stakeholders with our shared decision-making teams to make sure they're aware of the management plan, engage in action steps throughout the school year and give you some insight into those action steps as they unfold through our periodic updates. And then before you know it, we'll be able to start the development of our next strategic plan.
Karen, real quick, could you just talk briefly about the data book and how that's going to impact the 25-26 plan that we just finished?
Yeah, so as you know, data is a huge component of strategic planning. And so we've been providing to the board every fall a comprehensive retrospect of the district data. And so that presentation will be in October this year. We'll be able to provide you with that K-12 look at student achievement, looking at academics, from our benchmark screenings, curriculum-based measurements, all the way to Regents, AP, and graduation outcomes. And that really serves as a base for some of the strategic plan development moving forward. Really, at the heart of our management plan and strategic planning is student achievement, right? We want a school community, not only that that feels good, that's warm and welcoming and supportive, but it's also going to propel kids so that they're able to achieve whatever future that they can conceive. And that's really what we want for our students and what we want ultimately our faculties to be able to do. So that data book will give us a good foundation and will propel that into strategic planning moving forward.
Thank you, Mrs. Fincher, for the overview of year 5. We're excited to see a lot of this come through. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Just want to say, hey, kudos for all the things you've accomplished. So thank you. Back 5 years ago, it was a big undertaking, and it's nice to be, to say, yeah, we've done this, this, and this.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really not about just checking items off of the list, right? It's how to create systems that will sustain.
Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, item 7D, approval of many trips. Girls varsity volleyball team to Penn next week. Cross-country team to East Aurora, New York in the middle of September, the 18th through 19th. Varsity hockey team to Lockport in the middle of December. Senior high band, choir, and orchestra members to Rochester, New York for the NYSSMA Conference All-State Festival at the beginning of December. And we can do a motion to approve all of these following trips. So looking for a motion by someone.
So moved.
Dr. Parks, a second.
Second.
Dr. Adams, thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Good luck to the athletes and musicians who will be participating. Item 7E, this is a policy review, first review of policies 3290, 6110, and 5676. Operation of motor-driven vehicles on district property, code of ethics for board members and all district personnel, and privacy and security for student data and teacher and principal data. There were some briefing notes just to give you guys a little bit of info on the tracked changes. Any comments or things to bring up on any of these policies?
I have
Mr.
some
DeLucia?
questions on the operation of motor-driven vehicles on district property.
Okay.
It sounds to me like I've been violating this policy forever. There are times when I bring my grandchildren on the weekend to play on the playground, or I drive around campus checking out, the progress on the building project. But this sounds like all that is prohibited unless it's an authorized school function or purpose. So it sounds a little bit too restrictive to me.
I agree. So this one I can speak to was an Erie 1 recommended policy. My understanding, and we can have the policy committee look at it further, is that it's recommended to read this way so that it is able to be followed through for an unauthorized use. Are we doing that? No. So if we want a little less, this is an Erie 1 policy, so it did come from that. When we did the overhaul last year with the policy, this is what came of it. The additions in green that you guys saw in the track changes did also come from Erie 1, as we are not the only school with the e-bike usage. Dr. T, do you want to add anything else to that one?
No, just, it's interesting that the part we're actually trying to change isn't the part that Tim's question is about. It begs me to wonder, why does it include cars there? So is that what the big question is it the car piece? Because mini bikes, motorcycles, all-terrain vehicles, snowmobiles, and now the electric scooters and electric assist bicycles, we don't want them on school grounds except for authorized school days and purposes. But it doesn't make a lot of sense to say you can't include cars on campus.
Were you worried about your snowmobile?
Well,
I'm thinking you were talking, I'm wondering about the word cars.
And it's also school function, too. You referenced coming on the weekend, and it's not tied to a specific school event or school function. So
Correct.
that
Yeah,
language is
and
also.
we don't really want mini bikes or motorcycles. I mean, I guess cars and motorcycles, depending on who's driving them. I mean, an adult driving a motorcycle and their kid and a car is different than a mini bike, an all-terrain vehicle, and an e-bike or e-scooter. That's the question, and that's something we can, we want to look at that.
Yeah, and I think that's worth looking at the wording of it to make it clearer. I understand where that's coming from. I think they're saying school-authorized extracurricular event or activity leaves it up to whether or not coming with your grandkids is an authorized activity of the school on the weekend, right? So if it's not, maybe we need to make that a little clearer, dig into that language.
Well, I agree with Dr. Terranova. You don't want electric scooters or snowmobiles, et cetera, on campus. I mean, I agree with that, but to restrict cars, just driving on campus when you're not part of an event, or if it's on the weekend or after hours when you're looking at, what's going on with the construction project, I mean, I'm going to be put in jail.
Well, and there's a difference between like loitering and
Yeah.
visiting and using an outdoor facility space like the playground.
Is there necessary language regarding date and time or day and time as far as on a school day versus on a week? I mean, does language need to be specifically entered into this for future reads that delineates, well, on a school day, it should look like this. On a weekend, when school's not in session, or on a school break, when school classes are not in session,
Or after hours.
and whether it's, a school activity, I think you start to do that kind of like school zones. Well, it's 20 miles an hour in a school zone, Monday through Friday, during the hours of such and such. Does it need to just get more specific in the language to identify those different situations, and including the policy would get more lengthy, as well as when it says school authorized extracurricular event or activity? Well, does that include when we rent out our facilities? Or does that need to be spelled out or the language differently? So I definitely think it needs to go back for at least another read, if not a third.
Yeah, I mean, we could put time restrictions like they do at public parks. The park is closed.
Dusk.
Yeah.
Sundown.
So you don't want people driving on campus late, midnight, 1 a.m., whatever, because it might be for purposes that you don't want to have happen on campus. But to restrict cars always is pretty restrictive. And like I said, I violated it many times.
Yeah, so this is the first reading,
Yes,
correct?
this is the first reading.
So we could make some adjustments to the language to take into account the board's feedback, and then bring it back to the board and then go through the process, the normal process? Okay.
I would recommend that.
Okay.
What was the intent behind this, though? I'm unclear, because at first I thought they don't want e-bikes, ATVs, and snowmobiles.
The general policy is it mandated, the general policy?
I don't know if it's mandated, but this is definitely the language adopted from the legal team at Erie One.
It's basically focused, if I could, in my opinion, it's really focused on vehicles not counting like an adult motorcycle where you're dropping your kids off or riding through campus to get to go check something out, in a car, separate them out and talk about the vehicles that kids are driving around in, like mini bikes, ATVs, e-bikes, especially using a motorized vehicle to do those, or a motor to do that stuff, and having people be unsafe on campus in these unstructured vehicles, especially kids. That's really to minimize that as much as
We
possible.
want to avoid parents coming up with their kids to hit some baseballs.
No, it has nothing to do with.
Somebody can interpret that way.
That's why we need to take a look at it, because it's really a specific function, which is to say we don't want these types of vehicles with these kids, these age, riding them around unless it's a specific function that is allowed for them to do it.
It's a focus on campus safety.
Yes.
There is something interesting. I'm sorry, go ahead. You just said something really interesting with regard to the age of operating these particular devices as well. I think that it might be important for us to somehow acknowledge that there are laws that we do have to abide by with regard to the operation of any of these motor vehicles. And, just because we're on a school campus, it doesn't mean that that's a safe space to, ignore those. So that feels like another area to pursue. But what I'm hearing you say is the language is to update to include scooters and bikes, because that's a new phenomenon. But I think we do need to go back and take a look with regard to how we're defining what is a school authorized extracurricular activity or event, or, extracurricular in general, what that means. Maybe some definition around it.
It sounds to me like what you want to restrict is unlicensed vehicles.
That's correct.
The town of Farmington just went through the same process because there's gangs of kids riding e-bikes, electric bikes, that are kind of harassing people on, the trails in the parks in the town. So we had to work on coming up with criteria to make sure that that doesn't happen, because of it's a safety issue. But the descriptor that we might want to consider is that unlicensed vehicles, which includes all of.
Right, because that's part of the law. So, anytime there's a law involved, like if we're following the law, and we've talked about this before when we've revised policy, or even when we were putting together the manual, the redundancy of if you're stating in your policy something that is already written into law, or, just to not get into the weeds on that. So as a board, going forward on this specific policy, first read 3290, do we want the subcommittee to get together to do some work? Do we want to put it back out for the group as a whole to review ongoing before we have our second read?
I think it should go back to the subcommittee.
Okay.
It could, although can I make a note that I actually really enjoyed the language you said around with regard to unlicensed in accordance to the law. So even if the subcommittee looks at it, maybe we can just make a note that that language in particular seems to be moving in the right direction. I don't know if anybody else feels differently, but that felt like it was moving in the right direction.
I think you're spot on.
Okay, so subcommittee to reconvene and take a look at this
And
one?
I think those are being chosen next week, so
Yes.
folks can work on that.
Yep.
Okay.
The other two policies, 6110, Code of Ethics for board members and all district personnel, and 5676, Privacy and Security for student data and teacher and principal data. Any comments on the first read of either of those policies? Okay, and we will review those for a second read coming up. Item 8, meeting reports, Monroe County School Boards Association committee reports. There have not been meetings over the summer. However, I believe it was today or yesterday, Nancy Pickering through Monroe County School Board Association yesterday sent out the first information exchange committee meeting for Wednesday, September 9th, and also just for everybody to note, there's some sign-in, login information on the Monroe County School Board Association website, or if you need to reset your password, that was sent out yesterday. So please see that email in your board email address.
That's an afternoon meeting too, so it's not like the normal noon, is it?
It's 4 o'clock start time, and it's at the new location at 15 Linden Park.
Yeah, followed by a social hour.
Yes,
But we don't have our committees,
not yet.
right? I'm sorry. Thanks.
No, we're selecting those next week.
Next week? Okay.
But just for people to know if they need to reset their password or anything through that
I did that.
site. Perfect. Also, in relation to item A, we have item B, Monroe County School Board Association membership dues. That was attached in the agenda. And if we need to discuss that at all prior to having a motion on accepting those dues for the 26-27 school year. Were there any comments or feelings about that?
Well, I'll say what I do every year. It's a valuable organization. I think it's one that we benefit from participating in. So I certainly think it's a good idea for us to continue our membership with this organization.
Agreed.
I'd support that fully. I remember when we made the decision as a board to join Monroe County at that invite, and it's a decision that has been very fruitful.
All right, so I'll be looking for a motion to accept the Monroe County School Board Association membership dues for the 26-27 school year.
I think Timmy D did it by statement.
Motion by Tim.
All right, by Dr. Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Item 8C, standing committee updates. We've not chosen committees yet, but that will be something that we will work on next week when we all get back together. I know there are a few Athletic Hall of Fame.
I was just going to say Athletic Hall of Fame met. We have selected the inductees. Stay tuned for the announcement of it and the date.
Great.
And they're reaching out. I was just checking one last time before here. I don't know if they've successfully contacted each of the inductees, but.
Okay, great. That's exciting. And I know performing arts, there was something that came out on the district. Social media is looking for nominations for that recipient for this year as well.
And if I can put a plug in, not just for AHOF, but for graduates distinction and everything, if you're wondering, does a person rise to that level, I would say to our community, if you're thinking about it, nominate them, because some of the nominations that have come through, you just sit there and say, thank goodness somebody took the time, whether it was a friend, community member, or relative, to say, you know what, I think this person, because reading through some of the applications, you're blown away by just the rich history and accomplishment of the district and of the people who have walked through these hallways. So
I second that. I mean, I was on the graduates with distinction, and that was abundantly clear, and there was a point of pride in that. So
and visual and performing arts, I mean,
without
it's
a doubt.
just, there's incredible stuff.
Thank you, everyone, for those comments. And before we move to one of our last items, I want to echo Jasmine's sentiments. It was so enjoyable Tuesday to spend time with you and other student board members and area superintendents. And I'm very excited for your voice and your perspective that you'll be contributing to our team this year. So welcome. And I really enjoyed our time together.
You know, Mrs. Mitchell, I said I was proud of her for coming back after the first meeting.
Reorg's a long one. All right, item 9, upcoming events. A through F, we've got a couple busy weeks ahead of us as a team. Our board retreat part 2 is next Monday at 5:30 here in the boardroom. New educator orientation the next morning. If anyone wants to stop by, I know President Lisa Kostecki is going to be giving some opening welcoming remarks alongside Dr. Terranova and some other staff involved in the district. That's from 8 a.m. to 8:30 here again in the boardroom. And then Wednesday next week, we have our budget workshop, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. in the Early Childhood School boardroom. So 3 days in a row that we can all spend some time together. That budget workshop, I believe, will be broadcast also, Dr. Terranova?
It's not going to be broadcast live, but it'll be taped and can be broadcast later.
Great, thank you. And then Superintendent's Conference Day, our opening staff day kickoff will be Tuesday, September 1st, 8 a.m. in the Senior High, Junior High Performing Arts Center. Get there early to get some good parking. It looks like from this map that might be important. And our next regular board meeting will be after the third day of school on Thursday, September 10th at 7:15 p.m. here in the boardroom. And our board workshop will be Thursday, September 24th, 5:30 to 6:30 in Conference Room A. And if I missed anything, speak up now before we get to item 10, our adjournment for the evening. Anything?
Not that you missed it, but I just wanted to echo Brian's comment on the parking, because you mentioned parking again.
Yes.
We do really need to kind of educate the community or make sure we're doing something when there's performances, like whether having the back loop open, having those doors, somebody stationed unlocked or something.
Yeah.
Because it is going to be an issue, and then educating parents as to where to go.
Yeah, we have two, I guess, operating rules right now around the capital project. One is to communicate to the public when things are going to be different than they're used to. So that's a pretty general rule. But anything that's going to happen that's different, whether it's traffic patterns or door entrances or even locations of things, we have to communicate ahead of time. And I applaud our communications office and Kim Dole and Liz Welch because they're heavily involved in the collaboration with campus construction, our facilities team, and our leadership team at the building level. So the first rule is to communicate ahead of time and be thinking of those things. The second is, especially for our staff, to be have a system in place in each of our buildings, especially this year in the junior high and senior high, when there are concerns that happen, there's a system that they can use to voice those concerns right away and have people support whatever their need is. So if a room is real dusty or something is a safety hazard in a hallway, what's the process that they're going to use to be able to communicate that concern right away to a building administrator or to our facilities department and then get that addressed. So those are the two big things. Get out ahead of the communication. Mrs. Dole's done a nice job with an excellent job with our website. That's going to really clarify all this. And then make sure there's systems in place to communicate so that when things need to be fixed, we fix them right away and keep people safe. So that's one, what you listed is one small example of the many, many, many things we're going to have to do throughout the year when these things happen.
Well, and I think too, communication with students, if they see something that, they could see is potentially unsafe or, might need attention by a school adult to empower them to speak up too. They see something.
So if there's an athletic event on campus, I'm just going to use this as an example. If there's an athletic event on our campus and it's a visiting school that has not been here before, perhaps has been but not in a while, our athletic office has been very good on, hey, tell your bus to locate here, tell your fans and your parents, come in here, this is what the campus looks like. So to that regard, as we approach a concert, that's something that could be, I mean, I'm just looking at what Mrs. Dole already put out that's on our website, and it's fantastic as far as all the different maps and specific to scenarios and dates. And if you're coming here for that, that would just be a pop-up when you go to the Victor site, or even something that gets pushed out saying, if you're attending this concert or this event, whatever it is, the week prior,
Supply drop-off.
a new one pops up, and so people literally can just see it. This is really good, what's on the website right now.
Yeah, if I could just clarify, I mean, I think I started my comments with regard to traffic flow, which is different and is redirected, but I think I followed it up with the, and it sounds like there's going to be ample signage, but enforcing that as well, because I think even if we put that communication out, letting folks know that even if you feel inclined to park somewhere because it's in proximity, and perhaps you're already making that point, but redirecting, say, around the backside or whatever. I'm sure there's a lot of logistics that can be worked out. My point is like making it crystal clear that this is kind of off limits. It may be inconvenient, but there's a real safety issue with regard to the loading up that area.
And staffing it similarly to morning drop-off on campus. It's basically, we're just doing that a lot more over the next period of time.
Just following up with the communication, like I love that it's on the website, but most parents don't go to the website constantly. So like having that push out to Parent Square or something like that. And just I agree with the constant changes, and if there are issues, I had mentioned it to Chris Marshall's in a facilities meeting too, like if we can have some signage that like, we know we're working on this, because like, when there was a window broken, you could have, 10 people go by and they're all going to call you, but, just a simple sign saying, we've got this on order, or it's in the works, we know about it. That might save some of that time, and just let people know that you're working on it.
Pardon our devil dust. Pardon the devil dust.
Yeah, we're aware of this, but yeah, it's going to be a challenging year, so. But it'll all look so beautiful when it's done.
All right, everybody. So good job tonight. And I'm going to look for item 10, adjournment, motion to adjourn by someone. Well, I'm looking at everybody.
So moved.
Dr. Parks and Mr. Snyder can second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you for tuning in, everyone, and have a good night.